Here's the story of Mount Carmel Baptist Church, told by Deacon Randolph Dean. Mr. Dean, a native of Alabama, came to Waterloo in search of employment. He found work at John Deere, where he retired. He joined Mount Carmel Church shortly after finding employment. During his affiliation with the church, he saw the church develop and change pastors. As the church grew, so did the fundraising and programs for people in need. For instance, he explains how the church offered a tutoring program for the youth, raised money for a sick woman, and built apartments for the elderly. These and other programs supported not only members of the church, but the entire community. When and where were you born?
I was born a small town just north of Mobile, Alabama, Mount Vernon, Alabama, in 1937, April of 1937.
When and why did you come to Waterloo?
I heard that John Deere was hiring, and basically I come here looking for work, and that was 1960.
How did you learn about Waterloo? Because here you are in the South. You're a Southerner, truly a Southerner.
Yes.
How was that you learned about Waterloo?
I had a friend, Herbert Hill, that was living here. He come to Waterloo because his wife had an aunt that was living here. So, and that's basically how people got to Waterloo. So through Hill, I had a chance to come. He brought me to Waterloo.
You applied for a position at John Deere?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I applied for a job at John Deere, not a position.
Okay. Okay, my fault. So where were you working at? What part of John Deere? What were you doing in John Deere?
I started in the foundry
in
1960 and went from the foundry to a packaging department, and basically stayed there the rest of my John Deere life, which was a total of 33 years.
There's another side of you that I want to talk about, and I'm glad you came to Waterloo. Let's talk about the church you belong to, Mount Carmel Church. How did you go about selecting Mount Carmel Church to be your spiritual home? Tell me about that.
Well, after coming to Waterloo, I really wasn't thinking about church, but every time I would call my mother or she would write, the first question was, "Are you in church yet?" And, I kept telling her no. And finally, Mrs. Hill told me, said, "Well, I hear that there's a new preacher in town, and he pastors this Mount Carmel Baptist Church."
Okay.
At the time, the church was at 202 Sumner Street. So I decided to go there and check this preacher out. And of course, I liked what I saw and heard. And a few weeks later, I joined Mount Carmel.
There's a new preacher in town. What's this preacher?
That was Reverend R.S. Rocket. He had just started pastoring Mount Carmel, I think, in July of 1960, and this was about October of 1960 that I joined the church.
Richard Sylvanus Ruckett, obviously a very powerful guy.
Very powerful.
Because he motivates you to go to church, right?
Yes.
You said you were listening to him. Tell me some of his qualities. What made him who he was? What made him stand out from other preachers?
Number one, he was a large man.
Okay.
And he was very truthful in his talk, and with his if he talked to you, he would tell it just exactly like it was.
Okay.
I mean, he didn't. As the old saying goes, beat around the bush.
Okay.
He came straight at you, and when he was just a dynamic preacher.
What type of things did he do with the community, with the people or members of the church?
Well, one of the things that he focused on was building a new parsonage and a new church, because he asked us if we really wanted to do it, and of course we said yes.
Tell us how he would lead the church for its fundraiser to relocate.
Donations, also through cooking and dinners and selling dinners and whatever programs that we could put on that was fundraisers.
How many years did it take for you to fundraise to relocate?
Well, from 1960 when he started, the church was built in '69, so about 9 years. April 19th, 1969, we left the old church at 202 Sumner and marched up the hill to the new Mount Carmel.
He would be there for about 15 years with the church, but it obviously sounds like he would do a lot in about that 15 years for the church and for the community.
Sure, right.
What was it like when retirement hit for him?
And he told us, he said, God has shown me that this young man will do a good job.
Reverend Thomas, tell me, what were some of his strong qualities as a pastor and a leader?
When we first looked at him, everybody had some little doubt. I mean, coming behind a powerful man like Dr. Ruckett, is this young, really upstart? I don't recall exactly how many years he had been preaching, but then there was this big question mark, but he soon erased all of that. I mean, as he started to lead us into Mount Village 1 and then Mount Village 2 and then all of the other things that he had done, the fundraisers, the helping people. He's a very kind, gentle person.
You talked about Mount Village. But again, this is what is Mount Village, and why is it important?
It was important because at that time there wasn't very much housing for elders and handicapped people. So we thought at that time it would be a great thing to do for the community. In fact, it is a great thing. So that's why it was so important to build Mount Village 1, and then years later Mount Village 2.
Now you have a new leadership. Now we're talking about some of the things that he was involved with as far as leading the church. Let's talk about one of the programs that I know that you guys had at one time that was very effective. In fact, the Courier has an article on the program. It was an education program. Tell me about this program and how you guys got it started.
The need to help children succeed. That was the general thought, and we thought that let us do what we can to help the younger people. I wish that I had that thing when I was coming along. Would have perhaps made a better student out of me. So that's why it was put together. But it was a great program, and it helped a tremendous amount of children.
The Courier got wind of another one of you guys' outreach programs. The title of the article is "Church Sets Fundraiser for Ill Girl."
Yes, that was a young lady that that her baby was sick. We put this fundraiser on to help her.
All right.
You know, the church is supposed to feel the need of people. You know, the people in the church and people of the city, regardless of who they are. And that's what Reverend Thomas and Mount Carmel has been about.
Again, I'm very impressed with all the things you guys do in the way of outreach, of your community involvement, how you reach out to the people. In fact, I know there's another article in the Courier headed "Service will celebrate emancipation of slaves."
Yes.
Now this is something that that is not religiously focused, but yet it's very important. It's very important. Tell me about this article and why you guys had this celebration or acknowledged this.
Well, when Reverend Ruckett was here, we started the Emancipation Proclamation celebration the 1st of January of every year.
Okay.
And when Pastor Thomas come in, we kept it going. So for can't tell you how many years, 40-some years, we've been having that program. And it's to basically make the younger people especially aware of what the Emancipation Proclamation was, what happened. We do traditional dress and traditional food after the program, and just to make people aware of what happened back when.
You talk about history, you talk about change and being aware. This is what this is all about. This emancipation is to make sure that the members of the church are aware and are conscious.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the political awareness you bring to the church. Again, I know you're not focused on politics and things like that, but again, there's an effort made by the church to make sure that the people are politically aware.
Yes, right. Well, what happens, there's always the people running for whatever office.
Okay.
Whether it's presidency or vice president or senator, there's always somebody coming, want to make a speech.
For instance, Jesse Jackson.
Yes. Yes.
What was it like having him come to the church, and how did the people react to him?
Oh, it was great, because he was really loved, a person that's loved by the nation, and it was just great. It was exciting just seeing him, Yeah. People was very excited.
And what was your reaction? The people are excited, but I'm quite sure you were able to rub shoulders with
him.
I
was excited to see him, and to be able to. I was able to go up and shake his hand.
Okay.
So that was an exciting time.
And along with him, I know you've had Vilsack,
yes.
Governor Vilsack.
Governor Vilsack was there, I think, last year, and Nussel was there.
Okay.
Nagel, and many others which I can't even remember over the years, but as I said before, the church doesn't actively get involved in politics.
We've talked a lot about the church and what you guys have done for the community, things like that. All very good, very effective. Tell us about your role in the church, and what do you do, and what are some of your major responsibilities? I know you like to cook, so we have to talk about that.
Yeah. Well, I am on the deacon board.
Okay.
I become a deacon the 3rd of September 1967.
Okay.
So that's quite a few years. I'm on the deacon board, and I'm a part of the choir. I've been our choir president for many years.
Okay.
And of course, a Sunday school teacher, assistant superintendent of Sunday schools.
Okay.
And then I like to cook.
Okay.
That is my number one thing.
Could you tell me about probably, let's say, probably the most important meal you think you cooked for the church. Could you tell me about the most important meal? I know there are many. I'm quite sure there are many important meals that you felt that you have cooked. But which one comes to mind as far as the most important meal that you had to cook as far as the church is concerned?
Probably when I feed families after a funeral.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Usually when somebody pass away, then that family, and I think that's a very important,
Okay.
And that's just my thinking, because you are helping people to get over their grief.
Cooking for the church,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a very important responsibility, because we know in the community, people from the black community, that the church and food go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
So the cook is very important.
Yes.
Okay? It's very important.
Yes.
In addition to that, also, you cannot talk about the church, the black church, and not talk about the choir itself.
Mm-hmm.
The choirs. Tell me a little bit about your role with the choir and some of the things that you have done in the way of performances.
It was laid on my heart to try to get to do an album.
Okay.
And I asked Pastor Thomas and the brethren if we could do that.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave the go-ahead, or the okay. And we went to work on trying to get an album done, and I had help from a young man that grew up in my hometown.
Okay.
And I wrote, or co-wrote,
Mm-hmm.
most of the songs, and we put it together and had our rehearsals, and finally come the day to record. Mm-hmm. So we went to Minneapolis, to a studio in Minneapolis, and recorded an album.
Okay.
Entitled Hold On.
Okay, entitled Hold On.
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
Hold
Interesting
On.
title. Hold On.
Mm-hmm.
Explain that. How did you come up with the title Hold On?
Well, thinking about holding on is something good. If you start to slip, and many times people have started to slip, or did slip, away from what they knew was good.
Okay.
So my message to them was to hold on.
Okay.
Yeah. Regardless of how things go, regardless of what people say, if you just hold on, mm-hmm. He will be there.
Thank you very much.
All right.
I appreciate your time, and it's been wonderful listening to your stories about the church and about mm-hmm. yourself. It sounds like a great place to go to church.
Yes, it is.
Again, thanks a lot. I wish you the best.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for the opportunity.